to get in shape in a time-efficient way in just 30 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week. And this is gonna be an absolute game changer for you if you're a busy professional working 40, 60, or even 80 plus hours a week. You got kids, you got travel, you have so many things going on that it's not realistic for you to spend 3 hours a day in the gym. But don't worry, I've coached hundreds of busy Muslim professionals, and they were also shocked to find that you don't have to train 3 hours a day to have an amazing, lean, athletic physique, lose weight, build muscle, and everything else that we're gonna be achieving here today, inshallah. So bismillah, let's dive in. I wish I knew this a few years ago, because when I was a kid, I used to be able to train 2 to 3 hours a day, no problem. I had that kind of time. But now that I'm older, as a married business owner and father in my 30s, I don't have that kind of time to train anymore. And actually, when I first became a father, I became fat, I lost a bunch of muscle, I got weak, and alhamdulillah, since I expanded my knowledge and learned how to get it done in 30 minutes a day, I've actually found that not only was I able to lose all the fat I'd gained, gain my muscle and strength back, but I've able to say more longevity, less joint pain, and overall more enjoyment of this fitness journey instead of feeling like my body was crushed from training at the end of each and every single week. So bismillah, let's dive in, and I'm gonna show you how to get twice the results in less than half the time. First off, let's go through an example of what my current workout routine looks like, so you can also try it and screenshot it if you'd like, versus my old workout routine. So when I was a kid, I would go like 4 or 5 days a week. I would go on Monday and I'd hit my squats, my front squats, my lunges, my deadlifts, my leg presses, my leg extensions, my leg curls, my abs, my cardio. I mean, I'd be in there for 3 hours and I would leave the gym feeling absolutely exhausted with no energy to do anything else for the whole rest of the day. Then I go the next day, Tuesday, chest, boom, I hit my bench, my incline, my decline, my flies, my machines, my everything. Then maybe I'd do some more cardio too. Again, 2-3 hours in the gym. It was very inefficient, and I would grind through the rest of the week only to be absolutely destroyed by the end of the week. And on top of that, I had to eat so much food to recover from all this training that it was impossible for me to get lean. I was always this fat powerlifter who didn't even gain that much muscle because I was always overtrained and under-recovered to where my body could never gain muscle, let alone lose fat, because to recover from that much training, you have to eat a crazy amount of food. And my appetite was always through the roof. I was always eating so much food and just getting fat instead of actually gaining muscle and getting lean like what I was going for. Nowadays, my workout routine is very simple and different. Here's an example of what my back workout looks like. I always do back day on Mondays. You're definitely welcome to screenshot this and try this, but towards the end of this video, I'm actually gonna link my full strength training mini course where you can learn exactly how to customize this for you and build the exact routine with the perfect exercises for your body type, your level, the right sets and reps, the right split of the days for your time constraints and goals. So I'll link that at the end once we go through the core principles in this video, so you can go deeper into the knowledge and practical application. As you can see with my back workout, I'm in and out of the gym in just 30 minutes, yet I have an absolutely amazing workout. There's only 9 sets in the workout, yet it's optimized for quality, not quantity. You know, I go in and I get my 5 minutes of warm-ups so that I don't get injured. From there, heavy dumbbell rows is my current heavy exercise of choice that I'm going for PRs on. 2 warm-up sets, boom, hit that heavy set, back down set for the pump, switch over to pullovers, 1 warm-up set and then a heavy set, and then boom, we do some pull-ups for volume. You can do assisted pull-ups if you want. And then from there, we go over to the easy bar, get some heavy curls, stimulation in the biceps, 1 heavy set, 1 pump set, and that is it. You can hit some abs at the end if you want. You could go longer if you want, just for fun, but it's not even necessary. It's not even required. The only time you would go above 30 to maybe 45 minutes tops would be just for entertainment purposes only, but all you need is 30 minutes for those essentials. I've gained way more muscle and lost way more fat with this type of routine without taxing my body, my recovery, my nervous system, making myself tired. No, I actually have an energy boost after these workouts. And on top of that, my recovery is better. My appetite stays nice and manageable. So it's very easy for me to get in a calorie deficit and lose weight. And then of course, the time efficiency. Back in the day, I'd go do 5 sets of 10 pull-ups and all these other crazy back exercises and be there for like 2 to 3 hours, all my row variations, all my machines, all my everything. And it just wasn't even productive. So what are the principles behind this routine and why does it work so much better than those super long, exhausting routines I used to do before? Well, obviously, the most obvious point is the time efficiency aspect, which makes it more realistic to stick to your routine during busy days, busy seasons of work, whatever else it may be. But on top of that, as you get older, you want to optimize for quality over quantity because it beats up your joints less and it gives you far better results without taxing your recovery and your nervous system, which becomes a lot more important as you become older. You work a lot of hours, you might have a high pressure job or business, you got kids running around, you have a lot of other stressors. So training should be a stress reliever, not a stress inducer, or at least we don't want to induce too much chronic stress because that becomes counterproductive, skyrockets your appetite, kills your recovery, drains you, burns you out, and makes you inconsistent. What you'll see is that I've chosen a couple key lifts that hit the right muscles from the right angles, and I optimize for going heavy and hitting personal records, so I'm getting an optimal stimulus. Now, towards the beginning of my fat loss phase, I will do the heavy, lower reps, and then towards the end of the fat loss phase, we optimize more for endurance, and I'll go a bit deeper into that later in the video today. And when it comes to key lift selection, you really only need a couple key lifts for each muscle group. So for instance, we already covered the back, but let's say for chest, you might just have your dumbbell incline bench or your push-ups. If you're doing body weight training, For legs, you might have a squat variation or a lunge variation or a one-legged variation, and you usually only need one exercise for each muscle group. You don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to do 10 different exercises to try to hit every single angle. No, you just have to hit a few angles, 1 or 2 key lifts for each muscle group, and optimize for quality and progression, getting those micro personal records or PRs, meaning if last week you did a certain amount of reps, you go for 1 more rep this week. If last week you did a certain amount of weight, you go for a little bit more weight this week. And then when you hit a plateau where you can't keep progressing, you rotate to another key exercise and you keep progressing. And it's so easy on the body, yet gives you such a great stimulus for growth, retention. And at the end of the day, when we're trying to lose fat, we just want to maintain muscle to keep our metabolism high and optimized, but we're not necessarily trying to make massive leaps and bounds and making gains. Ironically, even if you want to gain muscle, you don't really need that much volume, but for cutting, especially when you're trying to lose weight, you literally need only 1/9 to 1/3 the volume that you do to gain muscle in order to maintain it. Now you might be wondering, well, aren't I burning less calories if I only work out for 30 minutes instead of working out for 3 hours? And here's the thing, there's 2 answers to this. Number 1 is the fact that yes, you're burning a little bit less calories, but it's not the calories burned in the session itself. Again, the purpose is to stimulate muscle. It's the elevation in your metabolic rate from having more muscle mass and retaining that muscle. It's the nutrient partitioning and the afterburner effect after that session when you're not drained and crushed and end up eating excessively, but instead your appetite stays level, yet your body's still in that optimal metabolic state post-training to feed all those calories into muscle and starve your fat cells of energy such that your fat cells have to actually burn in order to give you energy. And that's how we get into that fat burning state without spiking those stress hormones that crush your metabolism or whatever else it may be. That being said though, if you want a form of cardio to burn a bit more calories and accelerate your results, especially if you have a slower metabolism or you have an aggressive fat loss target, instead of using high intensity interval training or high intensity cardio that will completely sabotage all the great work we've done with the workout by increasing our appetite, instead we want to use walking, because walking does not stimulate your appetite. It's very low impact. It doesn't stress out your system. It even lowers your stress hormones further, which is going to help you to lose more weight, not spike your appetite, see way better results, and feel way better in the process. And you can even multitask while you're walking. You can take your family out with you. You can get work done. You can get an under the desk treadmill with a standing desk like what I have. And this is actually part of how I lost all that weight, especially as I got leaner and I started to get to that single digit body fat where I was getting really shredded and lean again. My body started to resist the process of fat loss, because when you have a lot of fat to lose, your body's happy to let go of it, versus when you have very little fat left to lose, the body starts to resist it. So the awesome plateau breaker that I use was that step count under the desk treadmill where I was just getting my steps on autopilot while I was working. It made it so easy and effortless versus these crazy 5-hour workout routines I was doing when I was a kid. Instead of working out 2 to 3 hours a day, I'm working out only 2 to 3 hours a week max. So a couple ways you can incorporate that is just go for walks throughout the day, or try to hit a target such as 10K is a great target to shoot for, but find a way to make it realistic, sustainable, and intrinsically enjoyable for you so that the process feels relatively effortless and it's not stressful that you have to hit so many steps, but rather it's a stress reliever that you enjoy. And I truly enjoy my morning and evening walks and my walks throughout the day to re-energize myself as a break from work. In addition to the indoor walks, I like the outdoor walks, but the indoor walks are great to multitask during your work. So back to the workouts though, I know that even after hearing everything I just said, you might be tempted to work out for 2 to 3 hours a day, even though I've told you not to, because you think that more is better, and the point has not landed with you yet that better is better. But again, another point that I'm gonna hit from a different angle for you is the fact that when you're in a calorie deficit to lose body fat, your recovery is not even optimized to where even if you did get a better result or a better stimulus from that really, really long training, you're not gonna be able to recover from that. So I scale back my training in 2 ways when I'm in a fat loss phase. Number 1 is, of course, I'm not necessarily going to be able to train as hard, but number 2, I reduce the frequency a bit. You see, when I'm in a muscle growth phase and I'm eating more calories, I actually like to train 4 days a week, but when I'm in a fat loss phase, I bring it down to 3, which sounds so counterintuitive, but it's actually so much better for your results because it keeps your appetite from going up and it prevents your recovery from being overtaxed, and it makes it even more time efficient and effortless and allows you to focus on walking instead and keeping your appetite low so that you can eat less and lose more body fat. And as I mentioned, it only takes 1/3 to 1/9 the volume to maintain muscle it does to gain it. So it's a smart move on so many levels: sustainability, results, everything, to scale your training back and be more time efficient, especially in a fat loss phase. So how many reps should we shoot for? And I did talk about micro PRs. So how are we gonna hit these micro PRs, especially as we're losing more weight and we start to have less leverage on our bench press? Because the fatter you are, the more strong you are on the bench press. And so what I do is that I keep the reps relatively lower at the beginning of a cut when my strength is higher, versus after you've lost some weight, your strength may slightly go down even though you've maintained muscle, but your endurance is gonna go up as you lose weight. So in the beginning, you're still going for weight PRs on that new series of exercises that you add at your cut, but then towards the end, you're going more for endurance PRs with higher reps. Some exercises are naturally better at the beginning of your cut and naturally better for the 6 to 10 rep range, such as deadlifts, versus other exercises are better for a medium rep range like 8 to 15, such as dumbbell incline press, and some are better for really high reps like 20 plus, such as push-ups and face pulls. But again, we typically want to focus on compound multi-joint exercises that are working multiple muscles at the same time, because that gives us more time efficiency as opposed to isolation lifts, unless you have a specific lagging body part that you're trying to improve. And one last important point to help you prevent injuries and also prevent overtraining and chronic fatigue. When it comes to your exercise selection, there's a couple of differences in body type. People with longer arms tend to get less fatigue from deadlifts, but more fatigue from bench press, versus people with short arms tend to be able to do bench press all day and get tons of stimulus with minimal fatigue, but deadlifts are really fatiguing for them. So when it comes to exercise selection, which I cover more in the strength training mini course, you do want to optimize for your body and choose lifts that give you a really great stimulus, really great pump, really great soreness that you can do all day long and progress on that don't make you feel fatigued, versus you want to avoid workouts that make you feel super drained afterwards. So for instance, I used to do squats religiously for my first 10 years training, especially when I was competing in powerlifting. But as I got older, had less time, and also had other stressors and things that demanded my energy in my life, like work, family, kids, everything else, I had to scale back on squats, because after you do a heavy set of squats, you're tired and hungry for the rest of the day, versus if you remove squats from your routine, at least during the cutting phase, and hit your legs with other exercises that give you just as good of a burn, minus all that fatigue, it's so much better. And the same applies to all the different muscle groups in your body. Same thing, if deadlifts hurt your back, you might want to swap them out for hamstring curls and chest supported rows to take the pressure off the back while working the same muscles. But if you're able to do deadlifts without the back pain, of course the compound exercise is more time efficient. Now, what's the maximum you can train if you enjoy training, but you still want to get the benefits of the time efficient strategy, but you genuinely just enjoy being in the gym? Well, I wouldn't go longer than 60 to 90 minutes, because at that point, your stress hormones become too high and you hit the point of diminishing returns, and you actually get negative results because it's overstressing to the body. And of course, the minimalist method would be 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes as little as 20, if you want to even superset some of the exercises, which is something I do sometimes when I'm in a really tight time constraint. But of course, if I have extra time, I love being in the gym. It's fun, it's a stress reliever, it's a mental booster. So if I have extra time on those rare days where I'm not that busy, I could go for 60 to 90 minutes and take my time, enjoy the session, whatever. But if you need to just be in and out, get those results, get that quick boost, boom, 20, 30 minutes, no problem. So you can see that there's a range, but unless you have really good genetics, I would not train more often than 3 to 4 days a week, because for a lot of people, 5 is just too much to recover from, in addition to not being time efficient. And likewise, 60 to 90 minutes should be the max for your sessions. But again, 30 to 45 minutes is a nice middle ground that's time efficient without being overly short. But if you're really short on time, 20 to 30 is fine. You can get these workouts done, as well as the strength supersets and other things that I talk about inside of some of my course materials I'm going to link at the end, which is really going to help you a lot, inshallah. Now, one of the last points is, how do we split up the workouts during the week? Well, there's 2 examples I'm going to give you today. If you're training 3 days a week, you want to do whole body every day. If you're training 4 days a week, you want to do upper, lower, upper, lower. And I actually go into 10 routine examples inside of the free strength training mini course, including some of our most popular routines that are responsible for some of our best client transformations. I also go through which exercises to choose, how to choose them, how to progress the reps, and I'll also link my free nutrition and fat loss course, because that's the other key component to this. If you don't have your nutrition dialed in, it doesn't matter how perfectly you're training, you're not going to get results like the ones that I've shown on the screen, because that is such an important part of your progress. So I hope that today eliminated the excuse of I don't have time, because I've showed you a time efficient way, which is what I'm going to show you in everything that I do. And as promised, here is the free strength training mini course. Here is the free nutrition for fat loss mini course. And if you're interested in doing this even faster with my professional help, I'll put a link to my coaching program details and next steps below as well. See you on the other side, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, and please share this with a friend.